What is up, guys? Ross Thomas here for the Brotographer.com, and today I'm bringing to you a review of the brand new Tamron 70-200 DI-VC USD G2 lens. So Tamron's been combating the Sigma Art series of lenses with their own G2 lineup. Now the G2 lineup promises to bring you sharper results, faster autofocus, and an overall better build quality. Up until this point, neither of these two brands have brought to you a 70-200, and Tamron beat Sigma to that punch with the 70-200 DI-VC USD G2 lens. I've been using the 90mm macro for a while now, as well as the 150-600mm, so I was really excited to see how the 70-200 held up in terms of optical quality, build quality, autofocus, and Tamron's famous image stabilization, which they call vibration compensation. So let's start off with the 70-200 G2's build. I'm really happy with the G2 build quality across their entire line of lenses. They have opted to go with a really nice, sleek black metal that feels nice and cold to the touch, which I really like. One thing that I don't like about the metal finish is up on front here, up next to the lens hood, it's a little bit of a matte finish and is prone to scratches. But that's okay, the rest of the lens is really nice and feels really good and really solid in your hand. Now, one thing that Tamron does that's especially unique compared to any of the other brands of lenses I've ever used is they've implemented an Arca Swiss tripod mount on the bottom here. This tripod mount can be removed and you don't have to remove the entire collar, which I also like, but having that Arca Swiss compatibility, which works on all my monopods and tripods, is really nice to have, and I don't have to add a plate to the tripod or onto the lens on top of it, which is always another thing that can be lost. The 70-200 has 4 sets of switches on the front of the lens. The switches feel really good in the hand. The front of the switch is raised and they have a nice clicking, satisfying feeling when you move them about. Now the first set of switches here is for Tamron's awesome vibration compensation modes. They have 3 modes with the 70-200. Mode 1 is your general purpose mode. Mode 2 is specifically meant for panning, and Mode 3 boasts what Tamron says is 5 stops of image stabilization. It does not stabilize the viewfinder, but stabilizes the lens and viewfinder right at the moment of you releasing that shutter, and they say they can get 5 stops of image stabilization out of it. The second set of switches here is for simply turning vibration compensation on and off. The third is for your autofocus and manual focus switch. The Tamron also has full-time manual override, so if at any point you want to zoom in, zoom out, and then refocus after you've autofocused, that's possible as well. The fourth set of switches here is for the focus limiter. You've got full, and then you've got 3 meters to infinity if you know you won't be focusing on something that's really close to you. Tamron also says that the entire lens is weather sealed and dust resistant. Now, I didn't take it out in the rain or splash it with water, throw it in my pool or anything like that to test it out, but they do boast a nice rear rubber gasket that looks like it can keep out a lot of moisture and dust. So now to something that I don't necessarily like and that took me a little time to get used to on the Tamron 70-200 G2 are the focus and the zoom rings. Now Tamron decided to put the focus ring on the back and the zoom ring on the front, and they also switched the direction of the zoom ring to more like Nikon lenses instead of the Canon. Now my Canon 70-200 right here has the focus ring up on top, the zoom ring up on bottom, and as you can see, the Tamron is opposite. Now it took me a little while to get used to, and I, to this day, still find myself reaching for the back of the lens when I go to zoom instead of the front, and sometimes I even turn it the opposite way. If you're in an environment where you need to get the shot super quick and you can't miss anything, then you're gonna wanna use this lens for a little bit of time before you go out and shoot that really crucial wedding or event. But once you get used to it, it shouldn't be that much of a problem, but it is something worth noting, and it is something that Tamron seems to be doing on the majority of their lenses. The only other thing that I'm not a really massive fan of is the lens hood. The lens hood, kind of made up of the same material, even though it's plastic instead of metal, as the front of the lens here. It snaps on okay, but it doesn't have a locking mechanism like the Canon version does, but it is made of a plastic that is a little bit lesser quality, and it is prone to scratches and marks a little bit more than, say, the Canon 70-200 is. In terms of optical quality, I was very surprised and very happy with what I saw out of the 70-200 G2. The elements were really resistant to flaring and pretty resistant to chromatic aberration. I'll overlay some photos on the screen here while I'm talking about it. that you can see. Like I said, autofocus really kept up. I did drop a few frames here and there, but it wasn't bad. I was shooting on the 1DX Mark II, so dropping a few frames at 14 frames per second really isn't bad. Sharpness out of the 70-200 was also really good. At most focal lengths, pretty much 70, 100, 135, all the way up to around 175 millimeters, it was really tack sharp. Now you will see a little bit of a drop off in 200 millimeter sharpness compared to the Canon 70-200, which really excels at that full length 200 millimeter focal length. But it's not something that you're gonna really notice. If you really pixel peep and look at the pictures side by side, you might notice the drop off in sharpness, but aside from that, you probably won't notice. A lot of the reviewers have been talking about focus breathing of the 70-200 G2, but to be perfectly honest with you, it doesn't matter. Yes, it focus breathes a little bit, but it also has a shorter close focusing distance than most of the other 70-200s on the market, so your maximum magnification isn't gonna be that much less. But like I said, it doesn't matter. Get out there and shoot. You're gonna be very happy with what you see out of the 70-200 G2, and focus breathing really doesn't matter that much in the real world unless you are a commercial photographer and you're in a studio and you're really close to your subject. It really doesn't matter. So just get out there and shoot and really don't worry about it. So while the 70-200 from Tamron might be a little bit worse in a few areas, such as placement of the focus and zoom rings, optimal sharpness at 200 millimeters, compared to the Canon 70-200, the price is fantastic, and the value you get at about $1,300 USD is way more than that of the Canon. So its build quality is on par with the Canon. I think the weather sealing is also on par from everything that Tamron says. The vibration compensation compared to the image stabilization on the Canon also seems to be exactly on par. I can't tell any difference, and while I don't lab test this stuff, you really couldn't tell any difference in the real world. It's about the same size, it looks really good, it has an Arca Swiss tripod collar, and overall it's a fantastic lens. I really think that the new Tamron 70-200 G2 is a game changer for third-party lenses. Sigma still hasn't come out with their 70-200 sport lens. Tamron beat them to the punch, and they're gonna sell a ton of these lenses. So to be perfectly honest, if you have the budget for the Canon, which is like $1,800, $1,900, and want a really nice sharp 70-200, I would highly recommend the new Tamron 70-200 G2. At like 1,300 bucks, you can buy this and maybe even splurge on their new 24-70 that'll probably be released in the next couple months, I'm assuming. I don't have any insider knowledge, but by the time you're watching this, it may have been released. So if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, check me out on the Brotographer.com, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram. My name's Ross Thomas, and I will see you in the next one. Peace. Have to delete all those now.